This is a stitched-together compilation of TikToks explaining why some believe the US is heading toward collapse. I don't own these clips. This is purely for educational and awareness purposes.
So I'm going to say this while making a sandwich because I'm really just talking to the people who have asked me to do that over and over again over the years. So, a little something for you, a little something for me. What if, and hear me out, this screechy liberal bitch in her kitchen, the one who must be married to such a beta cuck, whose voice is awful and whose eyes are crazy and whose hands move way too much when she talks, is right? What if she's right? What if we really are fighting for our democracy? What if the future of the country really is on the line? What if this government really is destroying the rule of law and the justice system and healthcare and social security and human rights? What if I wasn't just lying or being hysterical? What if we really are in danger of losing our farms and our jobs and our businesses and our benefits and our retirement? What if the government really is fine with letting us die of treatable illnesses and previously cured diseases? What if they really are kidnapping innocent people off the streets to see if we'll defend their actions? So when they start threatening your people with foreign death camps, there won't be anyone left to protect you. What if everything we count on in this country, free speech, freedom to assemble, freedom of the press, innocent until proven guilty, birthright citizenship, a woman's right to vote, even our beloved Second Amendment, is all about to go away? Is it possible that news organizations, like the one that had to pay over $700 million for lying to you about the results of the election, is still lying to you? What if it really is a big deal that our entire national security team is corresponding on open lines and group chats? Or that we gave a foreign billionaire access to everything from our most personal data to our nuclear codes? Accepting this idea that I am still lying to you, even though you can see what's happening with your own eyes, is a problem. And I get it. You don't like me. You want me to be wrong. But what if I'm right? What if, after the election, when you were laughing at us, I said the day would come when you would realize that this government was going to fuck us as much as it was going to fuck you, and we would need to come together to fight back? Well, that day has come. And we don't need to agree on everything, but we do need to agree that everything we count on in this nation is about to be lost. So help us help America, or we will no longer be the land of the free. Chew on that.
The Trump administration's now arresting judges because the FBI just arrested a Wisconsin judge for allegedly obstructing the arrest of an undocumented person in her courthouse by allegedly telling them where the exit door was. A move that many have described as authoritarian by Trump and a clear attempt to intimidate the courts into complying with his illegal actions. And this is you, the Attorney General, saying to judges on Fox today, "We will come after you and we will prosecute you. We will find you." Right? And this is you have experts saying that Trump's still violating court orders from the Supreme Court and continues to violate people's constitutional rights. And then actually, on top of this, we have the news that the DOJ has authorized law enforcement to go into people's homes without a search warrant if they suspect that they're an alien enemy. Though this is you have experts saying there's no Alien Enemies Act exemption to the Fourth Amendment and saying this is a clear-cut violation of our rights. Right? And this also comes as reportedly Trump wants to use the Alien Enemies Act to send Americans to El Salvador. Additionally, the DOJ has rescinded a policy that blocked prosecutors from seizing reporters' records in criminal investigations, forcing reporters to disclose who their sources are, which appears to be a flagrant violation of the First Amendment and freedom of the press. With now more and more people saying that Americans are under attack, that this is a concentrated effort to consolidate power and instill a dictator who seeks to undermine your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Right? And while it appears that the courts are doing their job defending the system, they're also toothless without support from Congress. Right? And this is the founders wrote extensively to future Americans on what to do if we ever find ourselves in the jaws of tyranny like they once did. And actually, funny enough, it's the 250th anniversary of their revolution.
ICE is now targeting United States citizens, and we warned you this was going to happen and you didn't want to listen. So there's a doctor here in Connecticut, in my state, in my district of all places, that has received a letter from ICE, right, saying that you need to self-deport or legal action will be taken against you, i.e. we will come arrest you and throw you in a detention center. Well, you say, who's this doctor, Kyle? Well, this doctor is a white woman from Philadelphia who lives in Connecticut. From Philadelphia, who lives in Connecticut. Her name is Lisa Anderson. Can you get more of an Americanized name than Lisa Anderson? Also, there was a young man who was arrested while driving Uber Eats because he made a wrong turn in Michigan, ended up on a bridge that brought him into Canada, which if you realize Michigan and Canada, they touch like this, so it's very easy to cross the border there. And when he went to come back, oops, I made a wrong turn, still need to go to this house and deliver this food, turned around to come back, he instantly was detained by ICE and then deported to El Salvador. Remember CCOT, the place where all the hardened criminals go? This was a young kid delivering Uber Eats. Guys, soon they're not gonna care. They're gonna come for me because I make videos that are anti-Trump. They're gonna come for you because you have a disdain meme on your profile that says, I don't like the oligarchy, right? They're gonna come for all of us. Something needs to happen. We need to get out this primary, and we need to vote out all of the Democrats that have no spine, that are doing nothing. And I'm talking specifically to the Democrat in my district who should be out there vocally speaking up for Lisa Anderson, because she's an American citizen being targeted by ICE. Guys, it's that simple. If they're your constituent, you get out and protect them. That is what you do. That is what you're there for. That is why you're elected. Anyway, now that my blood pressure's up and I want to go fight the power, if you made it this, my name is Kyle Gauck. I got ahead of myself. My name is Kyle Gauck. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District. I'm attempting to primary Joe Courtney, which is very important for everyone to know. We're not splitting the Democrat vote, and there is a primary election before the general election, and I need people to get out and vote in the primaries. If they don't vote in the primaries, the general will just automatically go to the incumbent, who is turning 80 years old, Joe Courtney. And he's been there for 20 years.
Hi folks, so shortages are coming for the United States of America. This is serious now. For the most part, so far we've seen the effect of tariffs on the markets. But we're going to start seeing things in real terms. We're going to start seeing empty shelves in the markets, in the stores in the United States. So according to the CEO of Flexport, container bookings are down nearly 60%. If the tariffs are not lifted soon, it would make there's going to be a $2 trillion hit on the U.S. economy. The failure of possibly tens of thousands of U.S. businesses, and literally hundreds, if not millions, of job losses. This is where things start to get real for the United States of America. The Port of LA, is now seeing a 10% less ships than this time last year. And that's a big deal, 10%. Of the week of May the 4th, in regards to ships that are coming into the port, they are currently seeing a 35% less ships coming into the port. Trucking out of the Port of LA, trucking so far out of the Port of Los Angeles is down 23% compared to this time last year. And some analysts believe that if it continues the way things are going at the moment, it could be as much as 50% by May. This is crazy. If nothing changes, ports are going to get very quiet. And this is what's going to happen. You're going to see empty shelves in every store in the United States. You're not going to be able to get stuff. Okay? This is serious, folks. It really is. Folks, the source for this is Axios and also the Port of Los Angeles. My name is Nick. Love you guys to give me a follow. Let me know what you think in the comments. I promise you, this is not scaremongering. This is statistical evidence from the Port of Los Angeles.
So this is the level that we've fallen. We just found out that a judge is telling the government to bring back a 2-year-old U.S. citizen that they deported. That's how fucked up this government is. He's arresting judges, ignoring judicial orders, ignoring the Supreme Court, and deporting 2-year-old kids. How fucking inhumane do you have to be to do that? And then the argument of the government is, well, the mom wanted to be with him. Fuck, man. Deporting U.S. citizens because you don't like the color of their skin or because you don't like who their mother is. We used to go around the world making sure that people didn't violate human rights, and now we became the fucking monster. A 2-year-old. And the government says that it's okay. They don't have to bring him back. And the judge says they have to bring him back because he is a U.S. citizen who was deported. You cannot deport a U.S. citizen. Even if you don't believe that he's a citizen because you don't care about the 14th Amendment and you're too fucking stupid to understand the Constitution, he's still a U.S. citizen until the law changes. And you guys and MAGA and all those people have to deal with it and respect the law. However, tell me again how this motherfucker is not an authoritarian government. Tell me again how this guy doesn't want to be a king and everybody that follows him wants him to be a dictator. They said it. He said he was going to do it. His followers said they would love for him to be a dictator. He's selling hats that say Trump 2028.
This headline this morning, Dow headed for worst April since the Great Depression.
Oh my God.
What is this all about?
Basically, what we have is a situation where over the course of the last several weeks, there's been an evolving narrative, if you will, right? We talked about this notion that with new policies, especially on the tariff front, what you have is a new degree of uncertainty brought to global markets, global trade, that then manifests itself in the way that markets have reacted with some of that downside volatility. Now, I remember over the course of the last, few weeks, having this conversation kind of around the lead up to that so-called Liberation Day and the tariff announcement about the stabilization factor of the U.S. market and the U.S. economy. Over the course of the last several decades, the American economy and the markets, the capital markets, have been seen as a stabilizing force within the global economy and the global market, one that you can turn to no matter what, in good times and in bad. That narrative has shifted a little bit more. It started off a little bit more along the lines of, can you still trust the U.S. dollar? Now, the U.S. dollar is the preeminent and the world's really only reserve currency out there. It's the one that you go to because pretty much every asset out there worth having is denominated in U.S. dollars. The U.S. Treasury market is the deepest, most liquid sovereign bond market in the world. It is the safest place to be. In the course of the last few weeks, there's been a little bit of chatter early on about the luster coming off some of those assets, the U.S. dollar and the U.S. Treasury side of things. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, there is now a full-blown debate in certain parts of Wall Street about whether or not there is a market shine. But when you have a possible paradigm shift, a change in thinking about the way that the dollar is valued and viewed in the global market, the way that our sovereign bonds, the U.S. Treasury market, is viewed in the market, that shift or potential shift is enough to have traders and investors, not just here in America, but around the world, questioning whether or not you have to change the way that you think about it. Now, to be fair, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, like every other Treasury Secretary before him, has proclaimed the notion of a strong U.S. dollar and, of course, the idea that the U.S. capital markets are the deepest, most liquid in the world. The question now becomes, guys, whether or not that incremental effect of not just the tariff and trade policy, but now the attacks on the central bank and its independence and its leader are making those assets, again, relatively less attractive. They are still the most attractive out there, but in a term of relative less luster, could that change the way that people think about the way that the U.S. markets operate? That's what you're kind of seeing play out right now.
So the big news today that not a lot of people are talking about is that Trump is coming for Act Blue. For those of you that don't know, Act Blue is the program that we Democrats use to raise money for our campaign. It's what connects you to give $1, $5, $100, $1,000, whatever you want to give to the candidate of your choice. This is a Democratic platform. Now, Trump is coming after this and trying to shut it down because he knows that we Democrats do this better than him. But to be very clear here, this is an attack on you. It's to stop you from giving money to campaigns because you know who doesn't use Act Blue? Billionaires. You see, the billionaires that Trump are around, they use wire contributions. They don't give through Act Blue because he believes that only the wealthy, his friends, should be able to contribute to campaigns and not people like you. Now, don't get mistaken. This is a strategy that's been used for generations. It's what dictators do. It's called crushing dissent. They go after the political infrastructure of their opponent to make it difficult for them to compete so that they're the only ones left. And that is exactly what Trump's doing. You know what would really make Trump mad right now? Us defying him.
I need you guys to understand that even if this guy does his deal-making thing, the disruptions are already locked in. This is the trucking volume coming out of Los Angeles. Here's the annual graph, and this is this year so far. Notice how right now the volume is about similar to Thanksgiving and Christmas. You know, when most truckers aren't even driving. That's colossal. That is a 2020-style supply chain disruption. It does not matter if the tariffs stop tomorrow. The goods are already on their way. It takes 5 to 7 weeks for stuff to start showing up here and properly be tariffed, and then the price increases come shortly after. Those things are already locked in. You're going to see companies revising their earnings forecasts down. PepsiCo is one of the largest drink and food conglomerates in the US. They control basically half the snack foods you can think about right now, and they are revising their forecasts down due to tariffs. If Americans aren't buying sody pop, shit is going down, my guy. And this is completely ignoring the supply chain disruptions to the auto industry or the tech industry. These things are such complex products that require so many parts from different parts of the world. The disruption is locked in, and the price increases are going to be things we haven't seen in a very long time. Now, for yours truly's take, I am not an expert, but the overwhelming majority of tariffed goods will be here within 4 weeks. The prices of a lot of goods will start ticking up a little bit. By the end of this quarter, you will start to see company after company revising their earnings forecasts down, citing the exact same things as other mega corporations like Pepsi. I think once Q3 rolls around, your average person is really going to understand the disruption part. It's going to feel like 2020 again. And I think at that back to school season is where I'm thinking most people will go, oh shit, it really is that bad. And at that point, most people will actually admit we're in a recession. Whereas right now, it's kind of only showing up in the stock market. The stock market declines in the way it has. It's down 15-20% from all-time highs right now. You start to have people asking if this is going to cascade into other parts of the economy. And with something as self-defeating as tariffs, it's like a self-destruct button. It is very clear that this is going to cascade into other things. The price increases are going to hurt every last person, who isn't sitting on a treasure trove of $50 million, which is 99% of people. And yet there's a solid 10 to 15% of the population that is actively cheering for their own self-destruction. And that is just mental to me. I don't know how else to describe it. We're getting up to 2.5 minutes here, but my point is that this disruption is coming for you and you need to be ready for it now. Especially if you need complex things like tech, like cars. Those purchases should be out the door and you shouldn't be thinking about them. Because again, to wrap up, even if the tariffs are completely lifted tomorrow, all the trade deals are done, everything goes back to zero, everything goes back to pre-Donald Trump part 2, the tariffed goods are still going to be here in a couple of weeks.